really looking at the edge of the forest. This is Hanford Street. There's a little trailhead here that heads into the forest. So what if kind of these streets, these connections could be softened, right? And the forest could actually be allowed to kind of come out into the streets. We could use, instead of having this pavement here, right, we could use that to collect the water and infiltrate it into the ground. So that's what this scene is showing. It's kind of showing a phasing. So imagining like, not all at once this would happen, right? All of this stuff would happen over decades, even centuries potentially. So just first step, kind of remove some of that pavement. Second step, plant some native plants in there. And then as it starts to rain, that increase in permeable surface will gather that water and trickle it down into the groundwater. And now we're kind of heading into the forest. This is all sort of like we're out in the neighborhood. Now we're coming into the forest with some ideas.
Yeah, in the forest, I'll start by talking about our considerations for water flow in the forest. So starting in the more neighborhood side of the forest, kind of that ancient ravine that we discussed earlier, we are really considering how the seeps lead into the main portion of the creek. So this is a photo that I took while walking through Schmitz Creek Park of a somewhat dilapidated portion of the upper forest, and just reimagining ways that we can use boardwalks to kind of protect that border between kind of human use as well as the creek, so that water can stay cleaner, less sedimentation, while allowing people to traverse throughout the forest. Moving into the center of the forest, that mature area of the forest, spawning pools are really beneficial for salmon. They're very particular about locations that they lay their eggs. Some of them prefer different water speeds, different temperatures, whether they like to lay kind of in the creek itself or in the pool. So just providing more opportunity, different experiences for salmon to have more variation in ecosystem to choose from. It also provides a great option for educational opportunities. There's 2 elementary schools neighboring either side of the forest. So the more that kids can kind of come up to these pools, see the salmon life cycle in action, just seems like a really great and engaging way to get folks involved in the forest as well. And finally, that takes us down to the daylighting portion of the forest. This is where the creek currently goes underground into a pipe, Southwest Stevens in 57. So just reimagining what that entryway could look like. Once again, seeing the boardwalk leading people into the forest, seeing the creek with greater water flow, greater ecology. So those are our water interventions.
All right, and then finally here, just kind of want to take everybody on a tour from the upper parts of the park all the way through the forest. So this is kind of looking at the elementary school up at the top and how it could be reimagined by removing some of the hard surfaces and giving room for a meadow and a bog area to bring people through the area. And then looking at the current entrance off of Pine Street and kind of removing some of the non-porous surfaces, removing the gate and the transformer, kind of putting an archway as like a symbolic entrance to the park area, and how that could look and how people could interact with the forest. And then moving a little further into the forest here, we see what I'm calling a forgotten path, and how that could be transformed into the boardwalk and then a canopy walk that'll take people through the ancient forest, ancient ravine, excuse me. And then moving over here, this is kind of in the middle of the forest area, and having the second elevated walkway that could move people around to see the spawning pool from above, and give people on a boardwalk to move through the forest from the upper school to the lower school. And then finally, the last board here is kind of reimagining underneath that little Street Bridge. It seems like a forgotten space that was really underutilized, and really trying to come up with a way that people could interact with it, possibly for musical performances and just a gathering place under the bridge. And then finally, just looking